Okay, everybody, good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. And since I made a video earlier talking a little bit about the 2027 NFL draft and what picks the Seahawks may or may not have in it, and I've done a lot of videos lately discussing the interesting players of the 2027 draft, thought I'd be fun to go ahead and punch in another early mock draft. We're going to call this mock draft 2.0. I did one right after the 2026 draft was over. So this is 2.0. Again, we're working with very limited information right now, so understand that the stuff you see here may not end up carrying over to even a couple months from now, much less April of 2027. So we're going to just kind of experiment here, play with the dials a little bit, see what players we can come up with. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. And since for the moment, I am under the impression this Seahawks team has 3 third-round picks this year, we are going to roll with that assumption, and possibly by the next time we do a mock, I may have learned that we don't have that third round pick, or maybe I will have learned that we do, and maybe I'll have learned why and where it comes from, but for the moment, we are just going to go ahead and roll with it, and hey, if it ends up not being the case, then oh well. But 2027 Mock Draft 2.0, let's get started here. No, well, actually, I should take that back. There is going to be a trade here, and I'm probably going to be trading in pretty much every mock I do this year because I believe that it is actually very important that the Seahawks do some trading in this draft because they have too many picks. And I think that if they keep their picks as is, they're going to end up drafting a lot of players that have little to no chance of making the roster, and I'd rather package those picks, move up, and take players that can actually make the team a high percentage of the time. So keep that in mind. That's going to be a recurring theme as we do mocks this year, and of course spilling into next year. I want better picks, not more picks, because this roster is pretty set up. All right, 2027 mock draft 2.0. Going to start with, and this is going to be one issue I have this year, I think. Edge rusher is such an obvious pick for that first round slot that it's going to be really hard for me to do mocks where we do anything other than take an edge rusher in the first. Now, the good news is there are several edge rushers that are projected to be around that back end of the first that I think fit our defense that we can use, but it's going to be very hard for me to justify taking a player of any other position because we are so obviously destitute at that position in a way that I don't know if you can really rectify between now and the draft. I think that's the issue here. Nevertheless, it's not a bad thing. It's not like last year where I kind of felt like Jadarian Price wasn't one of the 40 best players in the draft, and I didn't really want him at 32, and then we kind of ended up having to take him at 32 because of circumstance. Quincy Rhodes Jr. to me is probably worth close to a first-round pick, or early second maybe. Edge from Arkansas, he's a bigger, stronger guy. He uses his power rushing. I think he's a McDonald edge. I think that he plays the way Mike McDonald wants his edges to play. He's not somebody that wins really quick with speed. He's not somebody that's really good around the corner. He's not a super athlete, but he is a powerful, stout player that is hard to move, good against the run, and can collapse the pocket with his power. Now, I don't know if I can view him to be good enough to be reliable as a rookie, but he can play, and hopefully, at the very least, give us what somebody like a Boye Mafe did when Boye Mafe was a rookie. Reasonable request, I think. So Quincy Rhodes is my first-round pick right now. All right, guys, let's take a quick break here to talk a little bit about Prize Picks, currently the #1 sports pick app in America. The app is very easy to use. Check it out to my left here. You can do player picks, where you just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Or you can pick teams, where you pick winners, spread, or total on any game or fight. The app is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Right now, they have a great offer. You can play your first $5 lineup and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you have to do is use code HMA when you sign up. It's a brand new offer. Best time possible to get on the app. So get on over there and get to winning that first lineup. So remember, Prize Picks, code HMA. Download the app today, and remember to always gamble responsibly. Okay, so then we move on to the second round here. And by the way, keep in mind that the numbers that I'm using here for the picks that we have, those are just projections based off of where a lot of offseason prognosticators have things. So don't take that too seriously. And we're way too early anyway to get caught up in exact position ranking. Like if a player might be available at 28, they might also be available at 24, might also be available at 35. There's way too much opportunity for things to move unless you're like Arch Manning or Dante Moore or somebody at the very, very top of the draft. So don't worry about that so much. Okay, second round pick, I've got Coy Perrick, a safety out of Oregon. I believe this team is going to need a safety this offseason. Julian Love, last year of his deal is next year. And Ty Okada is on the 1-year deal because of the exclusive rights deal. And how he plays this year will determine whether or not we think he has a serious future here in Seattle. So when I see a guy like Coy Perrick, who I think has versatility, he can play in the box. He's a good tackler. He's a willing tackler and run support. He's somebody who can cover a lot of ground as a free safety, as a deep safety. Coy Perrick, to me, is somebody that fits this defense with what they need their safeties to do. And the main issues with him, I think, are just the mental aspects of the game. And that can get better this year. That can get better with NFL coaching. So I like Coy a lot. And I think that if we come away with him, we're in really good shape with our safety room long term with guys like Bud Clark and Perrick. And maybe Julian Love sticks around beyond this year. It depends on the year that he has. But I think we do need to replenish a little bit here because we are losing depth at the minimum, and I think that starters could start going as well. Okay, third round pick here. I got another edge rusher, and this is going to be another thing in mocks for me the next 8 months, 8, 9 months. It's going to be really hard to not dip hard at edge because that's what we need. Now, the good news is this is a pretty good edge class, I think. I think there are a lot of players that can help us, and Will Helt of Clemson is another guy who I think is a bigger, more powerful edge. Got a good body for an edge rusher, wins with power and strength, and not necessarily a great athlete, but it's a Mike McDonald kind of edge rusher. It's just going to be really hard to look at this and go, we should not spend at least 2 of our top 100 picks on an edge rusher because we may be destitute there next season. It's very possible we go into next season and the only guy we have that we feel really good about is Derek Hall. And Derek Hall is not, I don't think, a future superstar. He's not Will Anderson here. So you're going to need to find ways to really fatten up. And you might sign a free agent, maybe even 2, but you're still going to have to hit it hard in the draft. So expect to see a lot of edge rushers early in my drafts because I don't see any other way this works. This isn't like even running back last year, right? Where theoretically running back, you can get away with fewer resources spent. This is, almost a necessity, I think. Okay, next third round pick, I go Nate Frazier, running back out of Georgia. I just want some speed in this backfield, man, because Jadarian Price isn't slow, but he's not fast. And everyone else could be gone next year anyway, so I think we need running backs this offseason. But Frazier is probably the fastest running back in this class. If not, he's close. And he's also got some receiving skills. So he can also be kind of I think, a really good receiving back at the minimum. But even if we keep some of the guys that we got right now, Halani and Charbonnet, those guys are not fast. McIntosh is definitely not fast. So I want to mix it up. I want to at least have that gear in my offense. So Nate Frazier is going to be a running back that I'm looking at here, mostly for that. And then I actually double dipped at running back with those third round picks, which again, I'm not yet 100% sure we actually have that third round pick. But I went Justice Haynes, running back, formerly of Michigan, now Georgia Tech. Really good fit for zone, really good fit for the outside zone stuff. Really good at making just one cut and going. Good amount of power as well. He's got good speed. He just needs to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy this year, I think he might even be higher than a third round pick. It would not shock me if he bumped his way up into the second round if he has a healthy season. But when you look at the running back situation here in Seattle, past 2026, we might only have one guy, Jadarian Price. Everyone else could easily be gone next year. So I think double dipping in the third round would be a really good idea. especially if you can get two guys that I think have high potential, like Frazier and Haynes. Both of those guys bring really appealing attributes to the table in my mind. Okay, so that is your top 100, 5 guys that I think can help this team. 2 edges, 2 backs, and a safety. So feeling pretty good about where we are there. So 4th round now. I trade up into the 4th round by trading 3 of our 5ths. These are the 3 5th-round picks that we got for our free agents that are departing, 175, 176, 178. I package those together and trade up to 120. So a mid 4th round pick, which I think is going to do this team a lot more good than late 5th round picks. So I'm willing to give up a few of those picks to acquire one better one and take Jermaine Matthews Jr., cornerback out of Ohio State, a guy who I view as a good all-around kind of jack of all trades corner, somebody who can play the run, somebody that has good movement skills for man. I do think that there's a little bit of a lower ceiling here. He may end up being like a permanent reserve, kind of like a Nehemiah Pritchett type, but I do think that there is the potential that he could be like a Josh Jobe type as well. So I think we need a corner, and it's going to be a little bit awkward to get a corner once you get into day 3, in my opinion. But Jermaine Matthews Jr. right now to me is maybe the best day 3 corner available. So if you can get him at 120, I think you did really good. And then we got another 4th round pick as well, where I went Carson Hintzman of Ohio State. He's a guy who I could see actually launching into the top 100 this year. I think he's going to have a good year. And I like his tape already. I'm actually pretty high on the stuff he's shown as is. And to me, if you put Carson Hintzman in a good offense, which he should be in Ohio State, he might emerge as being I'd say, easily the second best center in this draft after Laululu in Oregon. So if you get him in the 4th round, you replace Oluwatimi, and you're getting a decent scheme fit, probably a little bit of a better scheme fit talent-wise than Oluwatimi, and you might ride with Jalen Sundell as a starter for a while longer, but Hintzman, I mean, there will come a day where Sundell is expensive, so don't count out Hintzman. Fifth rounder here. This is our native 5th rounder. I went with Austin Romaine, linebacker out of Texas Tech. Not a great athlete necessarily, but got some good run support stuff. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but we have 3 linebackers entering their contract year next year. O'Connell and Surratt are both, I believe, free agents next year, and those guys are pretty replacement level at best anyway. So Austin Romaine, linebacker out of Texas Tech. I am more of a special teamer than anything else, but McDonald does like linebackers, so maybe he can turn a 5th rounder into something special here. And I don't think we're going to get to keep all 3 of those guys after 2027. Knight, Thomas, Jones. I don't know who of those we keep. We probably keep Jones because he's such a valuable leader to this defense, and he's very good. But the other 2 guys, I don't know. So Romaine, bring him in. 6th round pick now. We're going right guard, Alexander Deuced. In my estimation of things, I think that Bradford will get a contract in free agency from another team this offseason, and you're probably looking at Bo Stevens as the starter. So Deuced would become the backup. He's a little Bradford-like, man. He's a great athlete, physically, potentially really dominant, just inconsistent, which is very much what Bradford is, right? Bradford is a freak athlete. He just can't quite put it all together. So Deuced is kind of like a second chance to take a player like that and then groom him into something that you are a little bit more satisfied with from week to week. So pretty good pick. And my 7th round pick, I went with Aiden Childs, a quarterback from Northwestern. Dual threat, another super athlete, kind of like Milroe. Now, if Milroe's still around, I don't see how Childs necessarily makes the team. It's a little redundant, but there is a scenario where Locke walks in free agency because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And if we don't see what we like from Milroe this season, we may end up kind of moving on from that and wanting a new experiment. And to me, Aiden Childs, not really that much worse than Jalen Milroe as a project. Like, it's a similar thing. Raw, talented, dual threat quarterback. To me, there's not a huge difference there. So if you want to reset and spend a much lower value pick, I think Aiden Childs would actually be a pretty good idea here. So, by the way, I know that there might be a extra 7th round pick here coming for Michael Jarrell, but I haven't seen any websites list that as our pick, as one of our picks. So I'm going to work with the assumption right now that it's conditional and that we're not going to have it for the time being, but we'll find out later. And that is it. So let me know what you guys think of this mock. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. Going to be a lot of fun doing mocks this year because we have so many picks. And see you guys later.